So welcome everyone. My name is Kai Bautista and I am the communication coordinator for Idaho Partners for Good. And we are so grateful that each and every one of you have joined us today. Idaho Partners for Good, most of you know who we are, what we're doing, but just a quick recap. We are located and based out of Boise, Idaho. Our purpose is to build stronger, healthier, and more equipped nonprofits. I like to say that Idaho Partners for Good is kind of the in-between between these nonprofits that we really want to see thrive and grow and continue to do good work for our community, and like the donors or the people who want to put like the work into it, want to give their time, talent, and treasure, but maybe are unsure of how to use their time, talent, and treasure in order to help make our nonprofits grow bigger, healthier, and stronger. So today I want to introduce Dwight. Many of you are here because of him. So thank you for registering and for attending our event today. So first, Dwight, there is a definitive process for becoming and staying resilient during times of change and emotional fatigue. It is not easy to come by, but once you master it, you will have the tools to navigate your obstacles. Our speaker today was recently with HP for over 20 years and a member of Toastmasters for over 10 years, where he achieved a distinguished Toastmaster. He has many times during his life been faced with challenging circumstances that affected his work and personal life. However, the tools that you're going to learn today not only helped him become and stay resilient, it also helped him earn a top 20 finish out of 10,000 speakers at the World Championship of Public Speaking. These are the same tools that will help you break through to achieve your goals. So presenting his keynote entitled How to Navigate Change and Get Remarkable Results with the 3 R's to Resiliency, please welcome Dwight Edwards.
Thank you, Kai. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yes, we could do. Thank you, Blossom. I appreciate it. Well, it's a tall order because this is an outstanding group. I see some great friends of mine in the room, other people I looked up, and you guys are all outstanding. I'm so happy and thank you for being here. And it's such a tall order, but I'm a tall person, so I think I can handle it. And because I'm so tall, my first challenge to you is I'm going to ask you a question based on what Kai is going to put up on the screen right now.
Okay.
All right. Now, Alyssa and Jessica and Shane and Anna cannot guess on this because they already know me. Anyone that knows me can't guess. But for everyone else, my question to you is, how tall do you think I am? And you can just throw it in the chat and I'll watch chat to see what comes up. I see a few 6'5" in there, and that's correct when I was 12 years old. All right, they're rolling in. Sometimes when I do this, someone will say 7 feet, and I said, yeah, if I'm standing on a stage. Right. Well, Kelly, who actually was the second person, got it correct. I am 6'8" tall. Great job. All right, Kai, you could put that away. Just a little icebreaker. So I am 6'8", but you might be wondering, what's it like to be tall? Well, being tall doesn't mean I always stood tall. Many times in my life, I faced challenges, bumps in the roads, disappointments, and I needed to figure out a way to be resilient. I needed and wanted to be resilient. So I developed a formula on how to be and stay resilient. And using that formula, you'll be able to focus on your purpose, utilize resources, and tools to break through change and challenges and utilize your support system. And in the next 60 minutes, you'll get that formula, and it's going to be in the form of what I call the 3 R's to resiliency. The 3 R's to resiliency. So we'll go through that, and each of the R's I'll support with a story, and we'll have interaction and kind of go through it that way. But before we really get started, I really wanted to thank Blossom, Kai, and Lorraine. Obviously, the smarts behind IP4G and the leadership, and for putting on these monthly sessions, breakthrough series, all the events, all the support that they give to nonprofits. So if you all join me, let's just give a round of applause like this to the big three. Okay, excellent, excellent. Appreciate that. And I also want to show my gratitude to all of you for taking time out of your busy week on a Thursday during lunch. So I'm going to give you guys a round of applause as well. All right. So now we're going to get going. But before we get going, I think what's one thing that I feel is pretty important is to define resiliency. Resiliency is the theme for Idaho Partners for Good. This is their theme for the entire year. So as Blossom mentioned, a number of you have been on the Breakthrough series since the beginning of the year, and others have been resilient in their own sense. So there's a lot of definitions, and they're all correct. But I'm going to reflect a definition, not just yet, because I want a definition that connects with my presentation, but I actually want to open it up to you guys. I want you to come off mute and tell me what you think resiliency is. Anybody?
Okay, I'll try.
Okay.
To me, it sounds like being able to bend but not break when things get tough.
Excellent, excellent. And hi, Anna, how are you?
Great to see you.
Great to see you. Thank you for being here. Anybody else?
I'd say the ability to bounce back.
Ah, excellent, excellent. And I saw Jess put up her hands.
Yep. So Dwight, I wanted to share what my daughter, who's 6, told me resilience means yesterday. So she's learning how to ride her bike, which means she falls off of it a lot. And so she falls off the bike, she stands up and she says, "Oh, mommy, I am resilient. I get back up when it's hard."
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. I really like that. And I know there's some coming in the chat as well. Thank you for sharing that story, Jess. And I know her daughter, so I know how powerful that is. That is. Okay, Kai, put up the slide. Okay, the definition we'll be using today is that resiliency is your ability to withstand adversity, adapt, bounce back, and grow despite life's downturns. So when you withstand adversity, when change happens and you're faced with challenges and bumps in the road, the adversity is you actually falling down and trying to figure out, how am I going to get back up and face it? And while you're on the ground, you may be thinking about ways that you can adapt or do things differently. Then you jump up. But the key is bouncing back. And what do you do when you bounce back? Found when I'm resilient or have to rely on resiliency to get through some of my most difficult challenges is that when I get to the other side, when I apply those tools that I develop and use to get through it, I actually grow. I become a better person. My perspective has been broadened, and I am prepared to take on other challenges, even though they may be different and they may be tougher, but at least I have a process, a way, a framework to utilize. Resilient people also tap into their strength and support systems to overcome challenges and break through their problems. So strength comes into 2 different ways. Strength that you have internally, your makeup, but it's also the strength of your business, of your policies, your processes, and the strength of your support systems as well. So you need to tap into all 3 of those or at least resilient people tap into all 3 of those to overcome their challenges. Thank you, Kai. All right. So now what I'd like you to do, I'm sure, and hopefully you've all received the handout that was sent to the pre-email before this presentation. And if you don't have the handout, just take out a blank piece of paper. But I want you to write down, and I'm only going to give you 30 seconds to be sharp, clear, quick, go right into it. Write down the biggest challenge you are facing, whether it's your business, your nonprofit, your organization. If you're on because you're just looking at individually how you could be resilient, what's the biggest challenge you're facing as an individual? So I'm going to give you 30 seconds. This is going to be the base of what we're going to use throughout this particular presentation. All right, so what is your biggest challenge you're facing? Begin. All right. Okay, now that you have that down, who'd like to share? Let's get a volunteer just to share what did you write down. You could come off mute as to the biggest challenge you facing or your business.
All right, I'll go.
Okay.
As a startup, being able to prioritize when everything is important.
Ah, excellent, excellent. And that's something you're facing now, right, Blossom? Okay, excellent, excellent. So presentation with the 3 R's, we want those to we won't go too much into detail now because as we go through, you'll continue to fill out your handout. And what I want everyone to be able to facing. So if you didn't write it down, please get a good one because I want you to walk out of here with a way to make sure you can address that challenge. Now, as Blossom mentioned,
Dwight, really quick. I'm not sure if anybody else, but I think we kind of missed the last part of what you were saying. It was going in and out.
Oh, okay. Let me just check my. Okay, can you hear me now? Better, okay. And what I was just saying is that make sure you have your challenge because as we go, everything we do is going to be addressing that challenge. So thank you, Blossom, for saying that. And when what Blossom was saying, prioritizing, and in all the challenges, your decisions are things you have to make, tough decisions. And when you make decisions between good and most of us, we select the good route. But what if you're faced with 2 bad decisions? I'm going to share a story with you of when I out a bit. Okay.
But I think it's when you move. So something with like.
Okay. Okay. Let me.
I'm not sure if that helps.
It's not my usual mic, but for some reason it wasn't working. Hopefully this works a little bit better. I'll project and I'll stay still. All right, I'm going to share a little story of when I had to make a decision, 2 bad choices. But before I start, I just want you to know that African Americans are more likely to have prostate issues than any other males. 40, I've had my prostate checked every year. And I know what you're thinking. I know exactly what you're thinking. You're saying, wait, what? Dwight's over 40? No. Well, I am. And back in 2011, I had my prostate check. It's a usual blood test that they do. And my results was delayed. But I knew that my physician was in Baltimore. He was at a conference. And, you know, when you're out of town at those type of conferences, you check in the evenings, maybe at lunch, but you are in all day sessions. So I expected a delay. But his nurse called me Friday, the end of that week. I still remember I was still working at HP at the time, and I was at my desk. The phone rang, and the nurse said, "Dwight, the doctor would like to see you first thing Monday morning." Okay, thank you for that, but what's this all about? Well, the doctor will take that up with you. Oh, no, he won't. You'll tell me what's going on right now. And because of all the privacy restrictions and HIPAA and so on. So Monday morning, I was in his office. The doctor came in and he said, "Dwight, your PSA levels," and PSA stands for, prostate specific antigen. It basically measures the amount of protein in your blood. So he said, "Your PSA levels are elevated, and I want to do some more testing. So I want to do a biopsy." Okay, doc, I understand. When do you want to do the biopsy? And he said, "Today." I wasn't even sure I was even ready. Like I was like, did I even shower this morning? And it just took me to another level, but I ended up doing the biopsy. It takes a week to get the results. How excruciating is that? Raise your hand if you ever had to give a decision or get a decision after waiting an entire week. Have you ever experienced that, Kelly and Lisa? Okay, Blossom, it's very difficult. But waiting through the week, all kinds of things went through my mind. I was back in the doctor's office and he walked in and he said, "Dwight, I'm not going to beat around the bush. You have cancer." I have cancer, prostate cancer. I never thought the C word would be ever related to me. And he went on to say, "We have two ways to take care of this, Dwight. Two options. The first option is we'll do surgery. That way we get the cancer completely out. We'll just take the prostate out, cancer is completely gone. Or since we've caught this early, we'll do something that's called proactive surveillance, which is monitoring the prostate to continue to check to ensure that the levels aren't going higher. It buys us time. Eventually, you're going to have to do something, but at least it buys us time. And when we see those levels continue to go up, then we know we have to do something down the line." I said, "Doc, when you're making a decision about cancer, people struggle, but this is pretty straightforward to me. Let's do the surgery. Let's just get it out of me. I'm not even going to flip-flop on this decision. Let's do the surgery." I said, "Dwight, I understand, and that's fine, but I want to be totally transparent with you before you make your final decision. If you do surgery, you risk being impotent for the rest of your life." Like I said, Doc, let's monitor this thing. Let's do that proactive surveillance thing. Yeah, Renee had a big smile initially because, hey, you change your decisions quickly when you get more information, right? And he went on to say, "Well, that's fine because if we do the surgery, then you no longer can make babies." And the only thing that came in my mind is like, wait, I need to get a girlfriend, get married, impregnate her, and have babies fast, chop, chop. So I decided to do the proactive surveillance, and I did it for 5 years. And during that time, you know, I'm trying to eat nutritionally, exercise, meditation, being mindful, but you also join different support groups with other people who are also either cancer survivors or treating cancer or know that they have cancer. And I've learned a lot through that. But later on, I had to fly to Vegas, meet with the world champion of public speaking, Craig Valentine, who's my coach, and he keynote that you're getting today, 3 R's to resiliency. And this keynote and going through the 3 R's, something came across that really changed my perspective. And it made me wanted to live cancer-free, not live with cancer. And so that revelation led me to the first R first R is reason. And write down the phrase, remember your reason. Remember your reason is very critical in dealing with change, challenges, and obstacles so that resilient. So I had to remember my reason that I actually wanted to live cancer-free so that I can live free. So I decided to go to New York to a outstanding physician, Dr. Ash Tiwari at Mount Sinai Hospital. I had the surgery, and I'm happy to say I'm cancer-free, and I've been cancer-free for 6 years. But thank you so much. I appreciate that. But it gave me a life lesson that when you remember your reason, you're trying to remember and you exist. Why do you do what you do? Why are you part of that business, that nonprofit? Why are you in your own business? You're an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant. What is it that really drives why you do what you do? Because when you understand your purpose, or as like Simon Sinek says, your why, and for me, it's your reason, it gives you a foundation so that you can stay focused. Because when change happens and you're facing challenges and obstacles, there's a lot of distractions. And sometimes you just lose your confidence in where you're focused on. Remembering your reason brings that. Okay? So we're going to do a quick exercise because I don't want this to be just about my perspective on resiliency, although I'm going to be telling stories so we get different perspectives, but I want the interaction and I want all of us to talk about all the different stages. So the question for you, and we're going to put you into breakout sessions for this, is to write down, well, first of all, let's do this. Write down what's your reason for doing what you do. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Use the worksheet, or if you have a blank piece of paper, put it right under the challenge that you've already written down. But what is the reason you do what you do? Begin, 30 seconds. All right, now we're going to put you in the breakout rooms. You'll have 3 minutes. Kind of split that time. Both people talk. We'll try to pair it up and discuss what you wrote down and have the other person discuss what they wrote down. 3 minutes, and Kai will put you into breakout rooms and take it from here. All right. So the exercise I'm going through is what I call think, pair, and share. So you thought about something and you wrote it down. We just paired up. And now I'd like someone to share what you discussed, share what you wrote down as your reason for what you do. All right, Kelly, thank you.
First off, I was blessed to be paired with Alyssa. It was wonderful to spend a few minutes getting to know her and to hear such great things from her. The reason I do what I do, and I've done it my whole life, my family raised us to see a need, fill a need, and to help, always be helping improve the environment we live in, the communities and so forth. And so I had put down helping others by improving our communities. So.
Okay, excellent. I appreciate that. Who else would like to share? What's your reason for doing what you do?
I can share. I wrote down, I guess because I love it and I'm pretty passionate in what I'm doing, and also because I'm convinced that it's good.
Oh, okay.
Drives me.
You know, I'm glad you added that ending part, because a lot of times when we have a reason, as Kelly shared and you shared, something from our childhood, or it's good to do, it's fun, but then you just add it because it's important, it's something that needs to be done. And I think those are the type of reasons that get you through the tough times, would you say?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, when you think back on that, right, Lorraine? So excellent. Thank you both for sharing. And so now you have, what is the challenge that you're facing? And here's the reason why you do what you do. Now, we're discussing why you do what you do, but do you do what you do the same way you've always done it? And is that a good thing? Well, it could be, maybe not, maybe. But let's look at that a little bit more, because you know the old saying, you keep doing what you always done, you keep getting what you always got. And that's going to be difficult to get through challenges when change happens, because you'll just keep trying to do the same things you always do. And do you ever feel like at times you just keep hitting your head against the wall and you need to break through and you just can't break through? Well, I've had those feelings, and I'm going to share another story of a time where I felt like I couldn't break through until I was able to do that. Years ago, I wanted to bolster my career and earning potential, so I decided to enroll in the master's program at the University of North Carolina in Chapel Hill. And I still remember the day I was getting ready to leave. I was in Connecticut, where I lived with my mom, and it was just my mom and I talking before I was taking the long drive down to North Carolina. And we had a great discussion. At the very end, she said something that really has stood with me to this day. She said, "Dwight, make the family proud, make me proud." And it just meant so much to me, because all I ever wanted to do is to make my mom proud. Have any of you ever been to North Carolina, or the campus, Chapel Hill, the campus of the University of North Carolina? Well, no, but Blossom started saying yes. Megan was like, nope, but it is beautiful. And if you had been on the campus, you would have seen me with my study group, run into the library to do extra work, following behind the professors to tap them on the shoulder to ask questions about the lecture earlier that day. And at the end of the semester, I was exhausted. I mean, the classes was extremely hard, and I was so anxious to get back home for the holidays so that I can tell my mom how I was doing and how I was making her proud. But I received a letter, and the letter said, "Dear Mr. Edwards, you did not meet the academic requirements to be in this business school. You are no longer a student at the University of North Carolina." My anxiousness turned to anguish. I thought I was doing well, but I knew I was struggling, and I did have times where it just felt like I was hitting my head against the wall and I couldn't break through. And now, what am I going to tell my mom? I couldn't tell my mom this. So I took the drive back to Connecticut, and she was expecting me because it's getting ready for the holidays. It's the fall semester. And I walked through the door, and my mom was waiting for me, and she said, she didn't say anything, because as soon as I walked in, I said, "Mom, I know you're expecting me here because I'm home for the holidays, but is my room in the basement still available?" And she looked at me as if to say, "Dwight, why would you say that?" And that's when I knew I just had to come forward with her. And I said, "Mom, I failed. I didn't make it. I'm not going back." And this is what I heard. Silence. I know some of you on this call may be moms, and to me, I honor all moms, because mothers have an uncanny way of not saying anything else to make the situation worse, right? But as I looked at her, I just saw a tear coming from her eye. And right then there, I knew I did not make my mom proud. The next day, I went over to my buddy's house, Jeff, and as soon as I walked through the door, he says, "Welcome home. How was it? How did school go?" And I said, "Jeff, on the first day of orientation, they say, look to your left, look to your right." by the end of the semester, one of those two people won't be there. And I kept thinking, boy, I hope it's one of those two people. But I guess I was sitting in the wrong chair. And Jeff said, well, what happened? What are you going to do? What did you learn from this? I said, Jeff, I learned that I'm missing something, but I do want to go back. And Jeff said, something that really changed everything for me. He said, Dwight, if you want to go back, I got your back, but you can't go back the same way you left. And I stood with that for a while. And what he did was give me the second R to resiliency, which is retool. Retool to get better, retool to break through. Write down that phrase, retool to break through. In your career, have you ever had to retool? Yeah, we've all had. So this is what I did. I was back home in Connecticut. I went back to my full-time job. I enrolled in the MBA program at the University of Connecticut in the evenings. I bought a computer so I could just focus just on what I needed to do and have flexibility to do my homework and research at my home. I aligned myself with a tutor that I used every week during that semester by taking the 3 classes over because I had failed 3 classes. I got 3 L's, which means low, which means fail. And that was what I was trying to overcome. And I also did every piece of extra credit I can do. And I got straight A's on those 3 classes. I left my full-time job. I reapplied to UConn's business school in the day program, and I did another 2 years. And I'm happy to say I graduated with honors. And I still remember graduation day. Thank you, guys. I still remember graduation day, walking up to get my master's degree and looking over to the side and seeing all my family and friends and everybody yelling and screaming, doing all kinds of crazy stuff, you know, all the things they tell you not to do at graduation. And Jeff was there. Jeff still had my back. But there was one person that didn't jump up or stand up. They stayed in their seat and they just looked me in the eye, just as far as we were from each other, and gave a nod of approval. Do you know who that was? Yeah, I could see the mouse moving, my mom. And I saw a tear coming from her eye, but this time it was a tear of joy. Who knew that 3 lows would equate and result to such a high? At that moment, I knew I made my mom proud. Author C.S. Lewis says, you can't go back and change the beginning, but you can start where you are and change the ending. And I think that when we utilize the concept of retooling, it helps us to change that ending, the ending of wherever we're going, whether we're dealing with a problem or a situation. Now, retooling is adding to your toolbox, adding new skills to what you currently have and improving the skills you have. But retooling is also another perspective, and that's reframing how you look at challenges. Now, looking at challenges as an opportunity, right? The buzzword that we hear nowadays now is growth mindset. And it's true, having a growth mindset, being able to take on challenges, knowing you'll be able to succeed, you'll figure it out, versus I can't do this. So part of retooling is reframing how you look at situations and how you want to take it on. So now we're going to do a think, pair, and share again in regards to retooling. First thing we're going to do is the think part. I'm going to give you 30 seconds. I'd like you to jot down a way that you can retool or even change your mindset, reframe how you look at things. And I'll give you a few ideas just to get the juices flowing. You know, accepting change is a way of retooling. Looking at challenges as opportunities. Doing research and listening to other perspectives outside of your industry so that you can gain best practices and develop new benchmarks, right? Writing a postmortem for yourself. Like, what would my business be in 6 months if I stayed stagnant? Like, what would the competition do? So those are just a couple of different things to get your juices flowing in regards to retooling. So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to jot down ways that you can retool. Who'd like to share? What's a way that you can retool? But I'd like you to share, what is your challenge? What's your reason? And then what's the tool you can use?
Okay, I'm happy to share. So
Thank you.
I work for a government agency, and we are getting a lot of funding right now, which is exciting, but also challenging because there's not a lot of guidance around it and a lot of uncertainty and how it can be spent. And so that's kind of my challenge right now, is just there's a lot of unknowns. My reason for what I do, we run a program called AmeriCorps, which is like a domestic Peace Corps. So I love that I get to help build the next generation of people that care, of people that are civil servants, and they're going to be going in and making our world a great place.
And before you go to your retool, that reason was amazing, but is that strong enough? I'm asking, right or wrong, that when you face challenges due to change in our environment, this post-pandemic environment that we're in, and loss of revenue, no fundraisers or not as much fundraising, childcare, virtual, is that a strong enough reason for you to do what you continue to do so well?
I hope so. I mean, I get frustrated because I feel like a lot of people, there's just a lot of people that are, they want to take the back seat, you know, and I love that I get to be around people that don't want to be in the back seat. They want to drive the car. And I think for me, that inspires me to come to work every day, because they don't want to just be passengers. They want to change things. So I hope so. But that's a good point. That's a good point to take away.
This is why I say it got to be a strong reason. So even after this presentation, go back and look at your sheet and keep digging, keep digging. But thank you, Renee. Go ahead, and how will you retool?
And just retooling and reframing that this is a special opportunity. It doesn't come very often, and that we really need to seize this opportunity to address some of our challenges in our state. So.
Okay, excellent. Excellent. And then, so you're changing your mindset, and then you'll work on what do you need to do to address that challenge. So I like that, because you're clear on your reason, and now you're clear on your mindset. You have a growth mindset, you're a different perspective, and now it gives you that energy and focus to find the tools to go after what you're after, to that challenge. Excellent. Thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. All right, you have 2/3 of the formula. Remember, we're here to talk about how to navigate change and get remarkable results. You've written down what your challenge is, the reason why you do what you do, what's your purpose, and now you have at least one tool you can use to address that challenge. And it might be a change in mindset, or it might be a tangible tool that you have. But I feel that in my last story, one of the key components was the connection with Jeff. I think everybody needs a Jeff in their life, that person you can talk to that help you get through the tough times, right? And I'd like to share a story of how I developed a better understanding of that. Consider when I settled in Boise, Idaho, I wanted to make a difference in the community myself. And I wanted to join Big Brothers Big Sisters. First of all, because I knew I could be a big brother. But most of all, based on my life experiences, I knew I could make a difference in the community. And I brought that with me to the final interview with the executive director. I still remember her name to this day. It was Mrs. Evans. And she asked that famous question we always get in interviews: why do you want to be a big brother? Or why do you want to be part of this organization? So for my case, why do you want to be a big brother? And I said, Mrs. Evans, I've learned from so many life experiences. I've worked at major corporations. I played semi-pro basketball. I have an MBA. I can be a big brother, a coach, a mentor. I could be a surrogate father. You've never had a volunteer like me. And Mrs. Evans said, oh, thank you. Very good. I'm very impressed. Thank you for the interview. We'll get back to you with a decision in 2 weeks. And I thought, 2 weeks? Why you got to wait that long? I mean, it's just obvious. Just make the decision now. It's pretty obvious. So 2 weeks later, I received a letter, and the letter said, Dear Mr. Edwards, thank you for the interview. You bring along a number of talent and skills that are very beneficial, and we were very impressed. However, we do not feel that this is the right time to have you as a big brother. You've been rejected, but you can reapply and rejected. Rejected? I mean, I answered every question perfectly during that interview. I nailed that interview. I didn't even know you could be rejected from Big Brothers Big Sisters. Aren't I big? Aren't I a brother? Isn't there a shortage of brothers in Boise, Idaho? What is going on here? And I was very disappointed. So a week later, I called Big Brothers Big Sisters and I got Mrs. Evans, and she said, Mr. Edwards, thank you for your call. We really did appreciate your interview. But you have to remember that all the kids want is to just play ball. Thank you for your interview. Goodbye. Just play ball? What did that mean? I was just flabbergasted. I couldn't believe it. Well, if they don't need me, I don't need them. They just lost their biggest brother ever. But it stuck with me. And I was pretty depressed and disappointed in myself for a while. And a couple months later, I was walking out of church and a lady ran up to me and she had her 2 kids, a boy and a girl, teenage age. And she said, excuse me, sir, did you play basketball? Have you ever coached? Will you coach my daughter, Nikki? And I thought, man, Big Brother, Big Sister just rejected me a few months ago. Why would this lady think I could take care of her kids? But then I looked over and I saw this young teenager. She was kind of nervous and shaking and kind of pushing up against her mom because she was afraid of what I was going to say or that I was going to say no. And I said, I'm assuming you're Nikki. And she said, yes, I am. Do you really want me to coach you in basketball? She said, yes, I do. And I thought, maybe this is the opportunity where I can make a difference in a child's life. So I decided to do it. And Nikki and I worked on basketball a couple of times a week and every weekend. And I taught her how to position herself under the basket and how to call for the ball, and how to pump fake to get the ball over taller people. And something interesting happened during that time. In 4 weeks, we developed an incredible bond due to the trust we developed through me just coaching her in basketball, to the point where she would come up to me and ask questions like, Dwight, can you help me get the boys away? Ooh. I said, Nikki, boys are like vampires. Just put some garlic around your neck. And then the next time she would come up and she said, what should I look for in a college? And I said, Nikki, think about what you want in a career and let that drive what college you go to. And then she would come up to me again and she's like, Dwight, can you help me bring the boys back, especially the cute ones? Double up on the garlic. No boys for you. You need to focus. But then it hit me. In a sense, I was her big brother. And it was something that happened in that relationship that helped me realize what Mrs. Evans was really talking about. You see, when she said, just play ball, it was a metaphor. And what it meant was, when people need help, help them where they need you. Help them where they are, not where you want to be. When people need help, help them where they are, not where you want to be. And that's what really was my downfall with Big Brothers Big Sister, because I was really focused on me and everything that I can give versus really focusing on what do the kids need. And Mrs. Evans knew If I made it about me, I would put a wall up between myself and those kids. But working with Nikki and developing that trust first broke that wall down and helped me to understand the importance of relationship. And that's the third R to resiliency, relationship. And write this phrase down, rely on your relationship. Relationships are important because the quality of our relationships influences how we are resilient in the face of adversity. When we maintain those support systems, it gives us the ability to know that we're not alone, have a sense of confidence, and also be brave enough to ask for help. That's how important relationships are. So we're going to move into a quick, because time is getting real tight. As a matter of fact, because it's so tight, we won't go into the breakout. But what I will ask you to do is just 30 seconds and jot down a relationship that, now there's 3 pillars to this, a relationship that you can get into, a relationship you need to have. It might be with a coach, a mentor, a business partner, or it could be a relationship you currently have that you need to make better, or it could be a relationship that you have to get out of. That's the piece that a lot of people forget about. Sometimes there's a relationship that's holding you back. So you could jot down a relationship that you currently have that you want to make better, a relationship that you want to get into, or a relationship that you need to get out of. 30 seconds. All right, in sake of time, we won't share, but what I do want to share with you is that now you have on your form the challenge you're facing, the reason why you do what you do, a way to do things differently than you've done them in the past. Maybe it's reframing how you look at a situation, as well as relying on your relationship. Who can help you get to where you're going to go? Usually now I have somebody go through the entire thing just to, I trust that I've been seeing you writing down your notes. So I'm so fortunate that you guys were interactive and took on the exercises and so on. Can you put up a slide with the magnet to help you remember the 3 R's? I'm going to send you guys a magnet that you could put on the fridge at your home or on the file cabinet in your office. And there it is. And even though the second one says retool to reapply, that's what I used to say. Now I say retool to break through, but I have a whole bunch of magnets left over. So I'm going to send you that, but it means really the same thing. Okay, you could go to the next slide, Kai. And so my hope today is that the formula that you learned will help you to stay resilient. I think sometimes people feel that resilient is just getting down, but I think it's also, what do you do when you get up? So hopefully these 3 R's will help you when you get up to stay and become and stay resilient. And Steve Maraboli, the author of Truth, Life, and Being Free, he says, life doesn't get easier or more forgiving. We get more stronger and more resilient. So I'm hoping this formula, how to navigate change and get remarkable results through the 3 R's, gives you the ability to not accept life the way it is, but create the life you want it to be. Thank you, and over to Kai.